So the temptation here is for Jesus to be powerful, to be the strongest, to have everyone submit to him, only if he submits to a lesser power. And again, to that offer, Jesus says, no, not on your life, Satan. That's not how this works. There is a better way. So to summarize the temptations, they are: be a hero, be an influencer, be powerful. And to all those temptations, Jesus says, no, that's not the way it works. There's a better way. But what's at the heart of the matter here? Because being heroic or being a good influence or having a measure of power aren't necessarily evil things in and amongst themselves. So what is actually happening, and what does it mean for you and I? I think if we begin to peel back the layers a little bit, we'll begin to see that, hey, the way or the destination, the way we get to power or influence, there's something about that that's important. The destination is not only the goal, but there's something about how we get there that's important. There's something about how you and I project ourselves, how we want people to see us, how we want to be admired. There's something about the things we do to construct a persona, how people recognize us, or for those of us in the business world, how our brand or image is formed. So then, when we find ourselves chasing importance, or scrounging for affirmation, or always trying to fight for control, maybe, as Merton suggests, maybe that's pride at play. And as he says, pride always longs to be unusual. And we know that pride is at work when we long for importance and influence and power for all the wrong reasons. This may help clarify it for us. Henry Nouwen says that we have a compulsion towards ongoing and increasing affirmation. Who am I? I am the one who is liked, praised, admired, disliked, hated, or despised. Whether I'm a pianist, a business person, or a minister, what matters is how I am perceived by my world. If being busy is good, it's a good thing, then I must be busy. If having money is a sign of real freedom, then I must claim my money. If knowing many people proves my importance, I will have to make the necessary contacts. The compulsion manifests itself in the lurking fear of failure and the steady urge to prevent this by gathering more of the same: more work, more money, and more friends. The line that sticks out to me in that quote there is that lurking fear of failure. If that isn't the biggest driver behind pride or the need to be important or influential or powerful, I don't know what is. And like Nouwen says, we collect the right things. We collect the right people so we can project a certain version of ourselves to the world, hoping that maybe in some way that will hide or stave off this fear of failure for one more day. However, for those of us who are genuinely trying to follow Jesus, eventually we come to a point in our lives where we have to face into that lurking fear of failure. We have to face into our pride and everything we have spent a lifetime building to hide our insecurities.
How do we practice solitude? Well, some of us will only be able to handle a little bit of solitude to begin with, and that's okay. We need to start where we can. Some of us will start with 5 minutes, and some of us will be able to do a little longer, and all of us will be able to add time to our period of solitude as we learn to sink into it and trust God's presence with us. So if you're just starting with this practice, I encourage you to take stock of your life and find the times that are actually built into your life right now where you could practice aloneness or solitude. Perhaps you're up early in the morning or late at night. Maybe you have a commute to work, Or maybe you have to sit in the car while your kids are at gymnastics or hockey practice. Decide to use this time as your desert place. Turn off the radio, turn off Netflix, put aside your phone, and enter into this time intentionally and prayerfully without agenda. You might also want to take some time to acknowledge the ways that you avoid being alone. Some of us might be on our phones all the time. Some of us might always need to have people around us. It might be really hard for us to leave our families, or we might have an addiction even to noise. I have the radio on a lot, and I've done this for years. And I acknowledge the fact that listening to the radio is a way that I avoid the feelings of isolation and loneliness when I'm by myself. If I were to turn the radio off, I would probably find lots of time for solitude. So, here's how you might practice your time of solitude. Let's say, for instance, the time you choose is your drive time. Once you're settled and on your way, you might start your time by praying a simple prayer. God, in this time of solitude, would you reveal to me who I really am, the one you see and love just as I am, and not some other person or cleaned up version of myself. And then just sit in the solitude and silence. Now, you may find that you have a lot of stuff bubble up. Anger and irritation with other people, shame about your past, fear and worry about your future. And that's actually a pretty normal experience. One teacher I sat under said that these times of prayer are a little like taking out the garbage. We have bags and bags of resentment and anger and grief and worry weighing us down. We've ignored and repressed these feelings, and it doesn't mean they don't exist. It's just kind of like hiding them in the garage. And then solitude is like opening the garage and finding we've stuffed so much in there, it spills out as soon as we unlatch the door. And so letting these things bubble up is like taking out the garbage bags one by one. We let them come up and then release them as we're able. And as we do this, more space will open up inside of us, and there will be more room for God. Now, as you build on your practice of solitude, you can add to it. You might take a morning out, or a day, or even a weekend. Whenever you've had a time of solitude, I suggest you reflect on it somehow. You might journal or take note of your thoughts, your feelings, and your reactions, and then offer those to God in prayer as well, and notice if there are patterns of behavior that just keep popping up. And remember too, when you enter your time of solitude, that your job is just to stay still. This isn't a time where you have to dig or a time really of introspection. Instead, it is about allowing God to show our known selves to us. And you're going to have to be intentional to carve out solitude. Mostly, this does not happen by accident. Most of our spiritual growth doesn't happen by accident. So we have to put in the effort. So this week, unless you're in quarantine, make a plan to practice solitude.